Well, hello. My name is Matt Ferland, and for my senior project, I decided to research the disease of Alzheimer's and also my family history. So, my family has struggled with the disease of Alzheimer's in the past since my grandmother has it, and yeah, it's been tough for us, for my whole family to care for her these past couple of years. I wanted to know what the best ways were to care for her and how families should go about treating the disease. I've seen the impact, so I obviously knew that it'd be a good project for me that would definitely apply to my life. Since I was also interested in my family history, I decided to create a family tree along with my Alzheimer's research. While learning about my family history, I was also able to learn more about how Alzheimer's has impacted members of my family in the past, and that people with it need to be treated with as much patience and respect as possible. For those of you who don't know, Alzheimer's is a very common type of dementia that actually affects every 1 in 10 people above the age of 65, which is just a ridiculous number, really. Not only does it slowly deteriorate the brain, it also creates plaques in the cerebral cortex, therefore inhibiting mainly memory, but also other skills such as thinking, speaking, and reasoning. That's what makes it so hard for the disease, for people to care for the disease, and its effects on entire families can be very overwhelming. Primary caregivers often spend over 100 hours per week caring for people with Alzheimer's, and 20% of carers have gone from full-time to part-time jobs because of their caring responsibilities. Throughout my project, I've learned that families need to work together in order to care for loved ones with Alzheimer's and to cope with its overwhelming effects. Because of my research, I was able to learn what family members such as myself can do to help. So my research with Alzheimer's has taught me how essential things such as patience, respect, and love are when it comes to dealing with the disease. I was actually able to help with and observe this effective communication seminar, I guess. It was at Concord Parks and Rec, run by an Alzheimer's Association representative. And it was to help caretakers improve communication with their loved ones with Alzheimer's. And it was really interesting for me because it reinforced that people need to be patient and to have a lot of caution while dealing with people who have Alzheimer's. I learned that taking things slow and including them in conversations is extremely important, since it makes them feel included and allows them not to feel as alienated. I know how easy it is to become annoyed with people who have the disease, since if they're repeating the same things over and over, asking the same questions, it's just so easy to lose your cool and get mad at them, but you don't know really how easy that is until you actually have to deal with it. And one thing I like to say is it's not really their fault. So I keep that in my head and I'm able to stay calm, I guess. So on top of that, I also got a DNA test. No. I got a DNA test, yes, but I used that to help me create my family tree. Along with Alzheimer's, I was also interested in my ancestry and my family history. And yeah, I decided to create the tree, and I have a picture of it. I would show you guys, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to get up on a computer, and I have to log in and stuff, and that'd be awkward, so I'm not going to show you guys. Okay, I'm just going to talk about it, I guess. And actually, it turned out a lot bigger than I expected. I was able to find a lot of my direct ancestors, and the tree, yeah, it turned out to be pretty big. From the picture, that's really blurry. You guys can't see that at all, obviously. I'm at the bottom, then it goes parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. And there are arrows above each of my great-grandparents that extend way up. And yeah, from there, it just keeps on going up. If I were to click on one of the arrows, it would show that they kind of had their own tree beyond that. So the farthest I was able to go back, I think, was dude, my 17th times great-grandfather, born in the year 1400. So I was able to go that far back. But that's only one specific line. That's kind of how it was all over the tree. So I guess I started creating the tree by just filling in what I knew. But obviously that wouldn't be enough. So I decided to interview my grandparents and my step-great-grandmother to see what they knew. And honestly, the interview was probably my favorite part of the whole, the interviews were probably my favorite part of the whole project, because it gave me a better understanding of their lives, and I think it brought me closer to them at the same time. The stories that they told me were very interesting to me, really, because their childhood and their past has just been so different from my life so far. So if, for example, my grandparents on my dad's side, they're Canadian, they were born in Canada. My dad was also born in Canada, but he moved to the US when he was very young. But their lives, my grandparents' lives as children, they grew up in very poor villages in Canada. And, you know, things like they had no electricity, no running water, which means that if you wanted to go to the bathroom, there ain't no toilet, you're going to the barn and in a hole or something like that, which is just really so much different. It amazed me at how different their pasts were like compared to what mine is now. So also, the interviews weren't the only thing I did. I can't get my whole tree just from interviews. So I also had to use the resources Ancestry.com, which is, I created the tree on Ancestry.com. So they had records and stuff like that from hundreds of years ago that allowed me to keep on filling in new people. And how it worked was that with each person I added, more suggestions would come up about possible ancestors that allowed me to keep adding and going back. On top of that, like I said, I got a DNA test because I wanted to learn more of my origins and what they were specifically. I kind of knew what they were generally, so I guess I'll read them. I mean, I'm 67% French, 16% Italian, 13% Irish, and 3% Norwegian, and I guess 1% Sardinia. I didn't know what that was, but Sardinia is actually a little island off the coast of Italy. So I'm just going to include that and say I'm 17% Italian, because that's pretty much the same thing. So like I said, I've grown up knowing that I was French and I was Italian, and I was Irish as well, from what my parents and my grandparents have told me. But the Norwegian part, that actually did surprise me very much. I had no idea that I was even 3% Norwegian. I didn't find anyone on my tree from Norway, so I wasn't completely sure about that. So one cool thing that the test gave me was kind of like a DNA story with specific regions and occupations that my ancestors had. And so say that one of my great-great-great-grandparents from Ireland moved from County Mayo, it's just a county, random one in Ireland. They moved from there to the US in 1840. That's the kind of things that it would give me. And that was the same for France and Italy as well. Norway, no. Sardinia, no, but I didn't find anyone in there. But yeah, you get the idea. The test also gave me kind of DNA matches of other people on Ancestry.com who were my relatives who've logged into Ancestry and have their own trees. So I was able to go onto their trees and say it was like a distant cousin even, or just like a second cousin, third cousin. I was able to use their trees to help fill out my own at the same time because they maybe had similar people to me. And that was also very helpful. Another interesting thing, I guess, is I wasn't able to get as many people on my mom's side as I was on my dad's. That might contribute to the percentages, I don't know, because my dad's side was all French, so maybe that's why it says 67, maybe that's why I'm more French than the other regions. I'm not sure how the percentages work, that's just how I don't know. And on my dad's side, that was where I traced it back to the year 1400. I did not get back that far on my mom's side at all. I was only able to go back like a couple hundred years on my mom's side, whereas my dad's went back a lot further. And that leads me to probably the coolest thing about the whole project is I was able to find specific people in my lineage, in my direct line, that were from those countries. And yeah, I had to go back a lot further on my French side to find people from France. They immigrated from France to Canada around the 1600s, whereas my Italian and Irish ancestors moved from there to the US in usually the 1800s, so I didn't have to go back as far there. Like I said, I knew that my dad was French and that my mom was Irish and Italian, but yeah, I had to go back a lot further on my dad's side to find people from France. All right, so throughout my research, I've been able to find out a lot more about my family history, and And I realized that my grandmother actually hasn't been the only one with Alzheimer's in the past because of my ancestry research. I now know that my great-grandfather and my grandfather's sister also have the disease, which means that really my family's been dealing with Alzheimer's for generations. But surprisingly, it was only found on my mom's side, so I hope I inherited my dad's side of the gene. I don't want that. I don't want it, the disease. I don't think anyone would. That right there is actually my grandmother. She has Alzheimer's, yes. And that's me, as you can probably tell. We just visited them like a couple weeks ago. I took that picture, in case you want to know that. And spending time with her has shown me how people with Alzheimer's need to be treated. And that's with as much love and patience, respect, anything like that you can give would be helpful when you're dealing with it. And I learned that working together as a family will just make things so much easier when it comes to caring for the disease or people with it. My grandfather, her husband, has told me what his family has tried to do in the past since his father and his sister also had the disease. And of course, he's has some experience now, but it's still been tough for him to care for her, because he's her main caretaker. But still, it's still a struggle every day, because it's just so hard not to get mad at them when they're asking the same questions over and over. Even now, he's having struggle. We're struggling to care for her, but at the same time, it's not that bad. So he's a very patient man, which is lucky for her, really, because she would not do as well without him there. And Alzheimer's is a devastating disease, and it makes life harder for everyone it surrounds. But if family members are able to stay positive and help in any way they can, the disease will just not seem as bad, and people won't be as overwhelmed because of it. I'd like to leave you guys with a quote that I think sums up that message pretty well, and it's by a woman named Angie Merriman. I don't know who it is. Although your loved one may not remember you or might do things that frustrate you, that this is a time when he or she needs you most. Thank you.